This library is stupidly huge. Well, it is the primary source of paranormal information in the world. Okay, point. That's probably gonna be near the back somewhere. Murder. There we go. The Sofia Athenaeum is basically a huge library that exists in Sofia, Bulgaria. Sort of. There is a physical building there, but even that building doesn't house the entire Athenaeum. Only a portion of the building, the main area, is in Sofia. Much of it exists in a sort of other space, created specifically for the library. It doesn't house just books and research materials. There are also tons of magic artifacts, as well as a massive vault with dangerous objects locked into it or something. Ooh, let's poke 'em. So I've heard. He paced silently behind me for a moment. You seem upset. Yeah. Well, Spencer's being unpleasant. I noticed. I take it that things are not going well with him. Hardly. I don't know why I expected anything else. But clearly whatever he's seen so far hasn't helped explain to him whatever happened 5 years ago. And what exactly did happen 5 years ago? I have no idea. He still hasn't told me. 'Cause he's a butt. I checked the labels on the shelves as we walked, keeping an eye out for the one I needed. I think it's this row. I stepped between two shelves, eyeing the book spines as we went. Velos needs to get a computer system for this place. I looked up, squinting my eyes as I read through the titles. You really didn't have to come with me, by the way. I prefer to be here. Oh? Don't care for my brother's company? No, I don't actually. I gave him a sidelong look. Wait, he really came with me because he didn't want to be around Spencer? I can't say that I blame you. He's pretty crotchety. That isn't why. I've been dealing with you well enough for quite a while now. Oh, please. I'm nowhere near as crabby as he is. Spencer has reached end-boss levels of angry. Is there something with his thoughts that you don't like either? Mark was silent for a moment as I tipped my head sideways to read the book titles. He leaned against the shelves opposite of where I was looking and watched me. I didn't think he was going to explain himself, but after a long moment he spoke again. People like him are the reason I hate humans. Interesting. People like him? Short, angry guys? Entitled, demanding, suspicious. People with psyches so fragile they have to be kept in a bubble and protected. Well, damn! Mark didn't mince any words there. The ones who find out about this world and lash out because they don't know how else to respond. And they prove time and time again that they are indeed incapable of coping with what we deal with every day. I stopped and looked back at him. Part of me wanted to defend Spencer. Part of me wanted to let Mark rant about him. People struggle to accept change. Even I struggled with it. I still do. But you are accepting it, even if it frustrates you. Spencer's accepting all this too. Is he? How much effort are you expending just to try to reason with him, to make him accept you? No one had to do that with you. And look how little effort he's making in return. He's so hateful to you, all the time. He's not here to help you with your research or to find answers. The only reason he's here is to find some proof he can use to vilify you. I mean, I do know that. But, I mean, Mark is understandably getting upset that anybody would be so mean to his girl. And he's like, yo, I don't want to stand for it. I don't think you should stand for it. I wonder if he did read his mind, though, too. Oh? Did you read his mind? Your brother's mind is more closed off than yours. Interesting. Good to know. Unlike you, he doesn't shout his thoughts at me, but I think it's obvious from his actions. He has no intention of approaching this as if it's a mystery that needs solving. He believes he already has the answers. He just wants proof that he's right. I rested my head against the bookshelf, biting my lip. I hoped that if I told him the truth, that if we let him in on all this, he'd be different. That he'd see I'm trying to figure out what I really am. That I'm not trying to hide some nefarious secret from him. I was hoping he'd just tell me what happened back then. I asked him about it yesterday, but he wouldn't budge. I turned around and looked up at Mark. I know it's easy to hate him. Believe me, I know that. But I think he was just hurt. Really badly. Not just physically, emotionally, mentally. Those kinds of injuries aren't really that easy to heal. I mean, he makes me so angry, and most of the time I want to hit him. But I also feel sorry for him. I don't think he's a bad person. You're trying to do what you can to help him and make him feel comfortable in his own little world, because he's incapable of coping with the one bad thing that happened to him. It was a pretty bad thing. It left him blinded in one eye, whatever it was. And it left you without your memories, with your relationship with him in ruins. That last part is something he suffered through as well. Why are you so determined to make him the victim? Why does it make you so angry? He caught my arm and looked down at me intently. Because you have value! Don't you see? My parents did the same thing. They went above and beyond to protect humans who never would have reciprocated. Every day they bend over backwards to try to prove themselves. It has yet to work. The very humans they try to help. Regulate us. Regulate our basic life functions. They tell us what to wear, or how, and when we can eat. Our personal relationships are illegal, or they require paperwork and contracts. I lived my entire life in a box, just because they were afraid someone would lash out at me to get to them. Because of what they did to help people like your brother. And he is doing the same thing to you. You're winding your entire life around his needs. You're spending every waking moment thinking of how to fix his problems. Damn. Boy's got some serious feelings about this. I appreciate you saying what this girl needs to hear, because it is facts. I mean, I get her point too. Don't get me wrong, but you are being completely reasonable with that point of view. I get it. I understand where you're coming from, Mark. I mean, I get it. The bitterness, the anger. Even I was ticked when Allie suggested I'd have to register at some agency just for being me. I can't imagine what it's like growing up with a litany of rules that dictate the smallest aspects of your life. I mean, on one hand, I do kind of get that it's wise to keep people from going around and eating other people. But it definitely feels like it's out of balance right now. It's certainly not the world my parents or any of their colleagues envisioned. But that's not a reason to hate an entire group of people. That's not going to solve anything. And look, obviously there are humans who can handle the truth. Look at Elliot's family. Girl, you killing it, though? You killing it? Like, yo, your life has sucked. No joke. I mean that, but consider this other part as well. Good job, girl. So proud of you. Elliot's family is an exception. Look at your brother. I came to look for books and get away from my brother. I can see that. He grabbed my chin in his hand, gently forcing me to look at him. There's no need to waste your time on someone who is treating you the way he treats you. I keep telling myself that maybe he has a reason for it. No reason justifies the way he behaves toward you. You're trying to help him, and he's utterly ungrateful. He's dealt with a lot. So have you. Aw, I'm getting all teary. Like my heart. Mark! Oh my goodness. Thank you for saying these things. He released me and dragged a hand through his hair. This is what I don't understand. Why are you so determined to defend him, as if you haven't also dealt with your fair share of negativity from all this? Because he's my brother. And if I let myself play victim in all this and ignore what he's gone through, I'll just end up hating him. You are kinder to him than he deserves. Just for the record, I'm not doing any of this because Spencer's human. I'm doing it because he's my brother. Human, not human. I can't let myself get caught up in things like that. If Spencer hates me because I'm not human, and I retaliate by hating him because he is, where does it end? I pulled a book out of the shelves and held it up. This is the one I was looking for. I started back to the tables, but stopped and looked at Mark again. I know things can't go back to how they were. I just want them to at least be better than they are right now. He doesn't deserve you, you know. I'm not so sure about that. I'm sure of it. I get the feeling you're biased. He's not worth your time. That has nothing to do with bias. I grabbed him by the arm and looked him in the eye. He's my brother. That doesn't change just because I'm Faye or because he's a creep. We walked silently back to where the others were sitting. To our surprise, when we stepped out of the stacks, Adrian was sitting with Allie and Spencer, without his gloves. They had a short tower of books on the table, and the three of them were reading together. My brow furrowed as we rejoined them. What are you doing here?
Sorry to interrupt your double date or whatever. I just thought I could help research.
I immediately noticed the lack of gloves, though I suppose that since Spencer might not be human anymore, he didn't have to wear them. He gave me a sheepish smile.
Sorry, it drives me nuts to wear them when reading. The feeling of the paper against the leather. Ugh.
He shuddered.
It's like nails on a chalkboard for me.
Anyway, where did these books come from? Well, Vila said it was pathetic to just sit here, so he came and dumped some books on the table. And Spencer thinks he may have found something. What? You've been reading for like 5 minutes. I've been researching for over a week and I haven't found a damn thing.
What have you been searching for?
I don't know. Fairies and amnesia?
Well, I was looking for fairies pretending to be human.
I'm not pretending to be human.
And we are not pulling the two of you apart again, so stop fighting.
I tried to tamp down the urge to smack Spencer in the face with the book I was carrying. I set it on the table and took a deep breath. Fine. What did you find? Spencer pushed the book toward me, tipping his head back as I skimmed the page. Just wipe that smarmy smile off your face. Changelings? I've read about these before. I don't think it applies.
It matches up.
Which parts?
The parts about them replacing a real human and it being disguised to look like the baby it replaced.
Oh. Okay. Mind explaining how exactly that fits? Like, what, you saw it happen or something? Because otherwise I don't see how that is a match. He looked away, chewing the inside of his cheek. Mark picked up the book and scanned the page quickly.
Changelings are a replacement for human infants. I can't say one way or the other if that's what we're dealing with here. But if Nora were a changeling, you'd have to stop blaming her for the situation. She would have been placed with your family as a baby and would be as much a victim as you. Not necessarily. Keep reading. On the next page, it says that some changelings are actually adult fairies disguised as children.
It also said that most of those start looking or behaving oddly over time.
She does behave oddly.
Last I checked, she wasn't wanton and loose.
Don't smirk at that. Mark smirked at me. I elbowed him in the side. Hey, shut up. If I was an adult fae, I would have some kind of memory of a life in fairy. And I don't.
How can we know that? You could be lying. She isn't. I can attest to that.
Stop reading my mind.
Stop shouting your thoughts at me, then. I have no idea if I can believe you, either. I have no reason to lie. If you want to protect her...
Good grief.
Now you see what I put up with.
Spencer, you are going to have to accept the possibility that maybe Nora isn't the enemy. Either that, or tell us why you're so convinced that she is.
I could always do a quick check as well. I mean, well, I guess you have no reason to believe me either, though.
I am not letting another vampire in my head. It's getting crowded enough in here as it is.
Okay, understandable. But I have another idea.
And what's that?
This book says there are ways you can force a changeling to reveal itself. Like, tests you can do.
Let's say I buy into this changeling theory, which I don't. The only ways I recall reading about to get rid of a changeling involve throwing it into fire or trying to drown it. If you try to throw me in a fire, Spencer, I will drag you in with me and we will die horribly together. I'm just saying that right now.
This isn't a joke! Not everything is a joke, Nora!
It's cute you think I'm joking. I'm not. I really will take you down with me.
Okay, well, this deteriorated rapidly.
You've been on for years about me being a fake or some kind of monster. You don't trust me. Well, I don't trust you either, so I wouldn't put anything past you at this point.
No one is killing anyone or throwing anyone into a fire.
You're the one who attacked me, if you'll remember. I have no reason to trust you.
That! Yes! I don't remember. That is exactly the problem. I attacked you. When? How?
5 years ago. When else? When I found you in that clearing or whatever.
I don't remember that, so maybe you can enlighten me.
You really don't remember? Really?
I really do not remember what happened that day. The time between me wandering off and going back home is a complete blank.
Then why have you been continuing to do it for the last 5 years?
Continuing to do what?
Leaving the house at night. Wandering off. Coming back before dawn.
I didn't start doing that until we came back here.
You've been doing it the whole time.
I have? I thought the sleepwalking was a new problem, but I'd been doing it for so long and never knew about it? The first time I remember doing it was right after we moved back here. Where would I even go?
I don't know. I never followed you back then.
But you started following me when we moved back here.
Because you...
He frowned, clenching his hands on the tabletop.
Back then, 5 years ago when I was out looking for you, I heard voices, not like a search party. It sounded like singing. I followed it and stumbled on you in some sort of clearing. I didn't recognize you at first because you looked weird, and you were surrounded by all those little lights. At first, I didn't know what I was seeing. I thought I was dreaming. And then you saw me and you just slipped back into being yourself, like putting on a coat. And those lights swarmed me.
He put a hand to his eye, resting his fingers against the eyelid.
I ran. Tried to get away. And no one believed me when I told them what happened.
I look different?
The first time I followed you when we got back, the same thing happened. Your appearance just changed.
I didn't know what to say. I didn't remember any of that happening, but I couldn't sit here and say he was lying. He'd already heard enough of that.
We shouldn't forget that basically all Fae are capable of using glamour. Nora could even be using it unconsciously.
Glamour?
It's an illusion magic used by fairies. They often use it to disguise or hide themselves.
But I don't know how to use magic.
A lot of magic-using cryptics have a period of time when they're still learning to use magic that they perform magic in a totally unconscious way.
What I saw was a very conscious response to seeing me there.
I don't remember any of that. Why wouldn't I remember that?
I don't know. I just know that clearly you've been experiencing some kind of fugue state, and it goes back years. I think it's obviously tied into your being Fae. We just don't know how yet. I don't think we can assume something like changelings, but I don't think we can rule it out yet either.
Why don't you just ask Brenner or Ewan?
That's not a bad idea. Maybe there's a safe way to reveal a changeling without harming it.
It? I'm not some sort of thing!
That's not what I meant. I'm just saying that if there's a safe test, then I don't see the harm.
There is harm! There is a lot of harm. I can't believe that you can't see the problem with this.
Nora!
No! I am not going to submit to some kind of test to prove that I am who I say I am. If you can't believe me, that's your problem, not mine.
No one is saying you're an imposter.
That's exactly what you're saying. And I expect this from Spencer, but not you. I was hoping we could come and research to find answers. Not so that you could gang up on me and question who I am.
Just because you don't like the answer doesn't mean it's not valid.
This isn't an answer. It's just a theory.
And you're rejecting our only way of proving it right or wrong.
That's because it's my identity that's at stake here. It's my everything. My family. My memories. If I'm some kind of changeling, all that goes away. If there's some kind of real Nora out there and we can prove it, then what happens to me? We can't exactly explain to Mom and Dad why there are suddenly 2 Noras, can we? It just sounded selfish. It was selfish. Everyone was silent. I realized that Velos was watching us from behind his desk as well. I didn't know where to take things from there. I need a break. I stood up and quickly hurried away from the table.
Nora! We can figure this out!
I didn't listen. I fled to the club. But once I got there, I didn't know what else to do. I just stood there, staring at the sofa. I dragged my hands through my hair, racking my brain for some memory of the events Spencer described. I'd attacked him. I'd really done that. But why? And why wouldn't I remember? A sharp pain exploded behind my eyes. I clutched my head in agony, trying to stagger to the sofa before I fell. I gripped the back of it tightly, trying to keep myself upright. There was something vague, an image in my head. A cavernous space, green and luminous, singing. The feeling of needing to find something. But it faded before I could latch onto it and remember properly. I crouched down, gripping my head tightly.
Nora, what's wrong?
I stood at the sound of his voice, a wave of extreme dizziness washing over me. I swayed dangerously, but he grabbed my shoulders and held me upright. I dug my palms into my eyes, trying to will the pain to go away.
Are you all right?
Yeah, just sudden headache.
I see. Though I was referring to what happened in the library.
Oh, that. I don't know. I don't know. It's not like I haven't thought about this. I mean, I know about changelings. I stumbled on them myself. I had to think about it and question the possibility then. I didn't think it was a good fit. Only a few details came even close to matching. But maybe I was just too scared to consider the possibility. It means nothing about myself is real. My identity, my looks. I mean, if I'm disguised by glamour, then what does that mean? What do I even look like? I could be some creepy bridge spriggan for all we know. To my surprise, he hesitantly wrapped his arms around me and pulled me back against his chest. I felt his chin resting on the top of my head. Aww, so cute. Where would I even go if something like this is true? Aw, Mark. Oh my goodness. Mark's really, coming through. I'm loving this so much.
If you suddenly found yourself in need of a place to stay, then you would simply come to stay with me.
I'm sure your parents would love that.
They are surprisingly understanding.
What if I'm secretly a bridge spriggan?
We have a small bridge in our back garden. I'm sure you'd find it quite cozy.
This is why you're good in a crisis. I elbowed him in the gut. He let out a soft chuckle and did not let me go. It was strange to me that it didn't feel all that unusual to be hugged by him. I wondered when we'd gotten so close. Oh, so wholesome.
Even if you weren't born Nora Lewis. Even if somewhere there is a girl who was, you're not an imposter. You're still just you.
Do you really think that's true?
Would I say it if I didn't?
That brought a slight smile to my face. No, you wouldn't. He released me and smiled as well.
Perhaps we should get some fresh air. It might be good for you to cool your head a little.
Sure. Mark led the way out of the club and to the stairs. We walked quietly for a few minutes. I shot Mark a sidelong look. He looked down at me curiously.
What?
I don't know. You're just being awfully nice lately.
It shouldn't come as a surprise I'm capable of being nice.
I'm not surprised you're capable of it.
As entertaining as it is to tease you, I suspected you weren't in the mood at the moment.
It might be nice to just get my mind off all this.
Perhaps. Though just getting your mind off it isn't going to make it go away.
I know. Mark and I had found a sunny spot to sit at the front of the school. For a while we talked about other things, but eventually we were back on the same subject I'd been trying to flee the library to escape. So, based on what Spencer says, clearly I really did attack him.
All we have is his word of that, and his credibility is a matter of debate.
Why do you say that?
He seems to dislike anything out of the ordinary, which now includes you. Perhaps his agenda outweighs his need for truth.
But if I don't believe him, then I'm basically just being Spencer, because Spencer doesn't believe me, and then that doesn't accomplish anything. It would be hypocritical for me to think that, Mark.
Why do you say that?
And I can't ask him to believe me if I don't believe him. I was just trying to convince him I don't have a reason to lie, so accusing him of the same just seems hypocritical to me. If all either of us does is fling accusations, we're never going to be able to move forward.
Perhaps.
Somewhat.
It's difficult to trust someone so obnoxious.
I gave him an amused smile. Really now?
I do hope you are not making an attempt to compare the two of us.
No, of course not. I'd never imply you're obnoxious. Never.
I suppose you must be feeling better if you're back to making stupid jokes.
I gave him a pained look. I wouldn't go that far. It's just easy to push it all out of my mind when I'm out here. With you. Ah, he could hear that though. It was way too embarrassing to say that last part out loud. He gave me a distressingly soft smile. I love it. One that made my heart do awkward flip-flops and my cheeks heat up. I looked away quickly, trying to think about anything else.
So, this is where you guys went.
Allie. She just come out the main door and spotted us on the steps. I stood hesitantly, unsure what to say.
I left Adrian and Spencer in the club room and came to find you.
Ah.
We were thinking of ordering lunch.
I think I'm just going to call it a day, actually.
Oh. I can take you home if you...
No, I think
I'll drive you.
Ride with Mark, I guess.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. See you. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately things are awkward with Allie now, too, because... Allie did... I mean... She did and she didn't side with Spencer, if you know what I mean. It's not a bad idea in practice to test to see if Nora's a changeling. But just because it was suggested by Spencer and the reasoning for it makes it seem like Allie is on Team Spencer. But I think Allie's like trying to walk the middle of the road but is not succeeding very well. And so it came across as, oh, so you just want to prove that I also am not related to him in any way. Great. Thanks for being on my side, Allie. Hey. Okay, you two, best friends, you gotta make up soon, okay? I hated how awkward it felt with her now. I wanted to ask what they were reading about, but I wasn't sure I wanted to know. To my surprise, Mark put an arm around me and turned me away from her. I let him guide me away because it was easier than trying to figure out what to say next.